I actually learned about Olivewoods through my cousin, who is a big hunter. He especially likes to hunt bush pigs, and he actually invited me to come out one day with him to pop in at Olivewoods and spend a night trying to get a bush pig, and that was quite an experience for me. I'd been bush pig hunting before, but not with somebody who's been doing it a lot and who's had a lot of success. So I was able to sit with him and learn about bush pig hunting, and we sat out in the darkness for a long time with the night vision, and unfortunately, as bush pig hunting often goes, we didn't get anything on that night. But regardless, there are a few things that I was really impressed with as I visited this property and learned more about Olivewoods. And I would say the first thing was just the backstory.
We had been looking for about 10 years as a family for a farm, and we fell upon this place. It was a farm that was owned by a Hollander who is no longer in South Africa anymore, but we managed to obtain the farm. I mean, the farm had been hunted quite extensively, and there wasn't really a hell of a lot of species left on the farm. The conservation side of it kicked in, and we reintroduced new bloodlines, new genetics, and we've put quite a lot back into the farm that was taken off.
I love the conservation side of hunting as well, and to meet people who were really interested in the conservation side and loved animals just as much as they loved hunting animals was absolutely fantastic. Another thing I really loved was the lodge. It's absolutely beautiful. When I saw this place, I instantly fell in love with it. On the edge of a cliff, overlooking pure paradise. You know, you have a river just curling through right in front of you. You have animals coming out all over the place in front of you. You've got the sun setting in front. It's just absolutely beautiful.
All the sounds of the nature and the birds and all the rest that you can hear around it. It's absolutely stunning. You can't get any better.
The third thing I was really impressed with was the biodiversity. A lot of places you go to, it may be a big property, but they've only got one kind of biome where you can only have certain animals on the property. Olivewoods had a bit of everything, and all within quite a close proximity of the lodge. So you really don't have to go far to see, you know, all kinds of different species.
We're short of one, which is the desert. Otherwise, all the other biomes fall into this property. You've got the karoo, you've got the grasslands, you've got the savannas, you've got the bush, you've got the thicket, and that supports all of the game that's on the farm and the different species. You were able to run a number of species, probably 90% of the species within the Eastern Cape you can run on this farm.
And it's one of the things I like about the Eastern Cape as well. We've got the coastline where you've got the forest, we've got the high altitude in the Karoo where it's more open, and you've got the hills. You can sit and you can spot and you can wait and you can be patient. It's not walking through thick stuff and scaring animals and having to take a quick shot. It's something different to what you get up in the Limpopo area where a lot of people hunt. It's a bit more mountainous. You've got that biodiversity, and it's really special. After the attempted bush pig hunt with my cousin, I decided that I actually wanted to come out and attempt a bush pig hunt for myself. So probably a few months later, I phoned Graham. I said, hey, I'd love to come out and do a bush pig hunt, and he said, absolutely. So I came out and I took my other scope off, I put the X sight on, and we went out to an open field, and I just took a few shots to get the X sight zeroed, and it was time to head out to see if we could get a bush pig. We'd seen the trail cam footage that they were coming in every night, but this night something didn't work out right and they just didn't come out. So we decided that, you know, after a long night of being patient, we'd head out and try our luck with a warthog. It's nice and hot. The pigs are probably going to be out in one of these big open fields here. We're going to have to probably take a fairly long shot, between 200 and 500 meters, I'm guessing, because it is quite a big open field, and to try stalk up close that open space is difficult. So I'm ready for the long shot. My gun can do it. Let's get out there and do it.
And we went onto an open plain of field, which that's what they like, open grasslands. They like to feed and forage on the different grasses on the grasslands. And there it was, and the stalk was on. And yeah, no, it was interesting. We went through the thick bush, and we got about, I think we must have been about 250, 300 meters away from the animal, and The animal had no clue that we were there.
We came out and we just saw a whole lot of warthogs, and there was one particularly big sow that Graham said I must go for. So I lay down prone, I took my time, I put the crosshairs right on that animal's head, and I couldn't have wished for it to be better.
We thought we might see some pigs down here on this open area. Been wanting to get one, and it all worked out perfectly. We came down here, we spotted them far off, we put on a little bit of a stalk, and then I need to get to an elevated point so I could lie prone. I always like taking prone shots so you can really keep that crosshair still on the head, and she dropped straight down, so I'm extremely happy with that. Let's go check her out.
All right. Here we are. This is a beautiful warthog sow. Extremely happy with the way it played out. We came out here close to this field. We put in a bit of a walk as we got close to the field. Got nice and quiet. Graham was looking over and making sure that that the pigs were in sight. And when we spotted this group, it was all systems go. And the shot looks like it came in there right at the top of the head between the eyes, and exited out the back here. So dead on the spot, and I could not be happier. I could see the smile on Graham's face after I took that shot at the warthog. He clearly enjoys seeing people succeed in their hunt, and I think that's what makes a great PH.
It's not always about pulling the trigger, it's about getting the person onto the animal, which is, for me, it's great. I love it.
I've experienced the excitement of taking someone else out on a hunt. A few months ago, I took one of my good friends out for his birthday to shoot his first springbuck, and I remember the moment that my friend took that shot. I could feel my heart beating more than I'd ever felt it before, and I wasn't even taking the shot. So, and that was the same thing I saw on Graham's face when I took the shot, so that's really special.
We want them to experience the way that we've grown up hunting. You know, I've been hunting since the age of 5 years old with my dad, and he got me into it, and we want to put that message across, is that the hunting is still very ethical in South Africa, and yeah, it's enjoyable. If you love it as a sport, that's the way it must be done, is the ethical way.
After a successful warthog hunt, we took the animal back to the cold room. We made sure that the meat was in the cold room, that it was going to be preserved properly and utilized, which is what we always want when we hunt an animal. And after that, we could call it a day and head back to the lodge and just spend the rest of the afternoon and the evening enjoying each other's company.
Well, the lodge is right on the edge of the cliff, luxurious but rustic, and there is Wi-Fi if people need it, if they want to connect to the outside world, and there is DSTV, but yeah, if you want to switch all that off, you'll be properly in the African bush with no one else bugging you. I think it's always nice to come back home after a long day in the bush and have a fire going and sit down with a glass of wine or cold beer and talk about the memories that have been made within that day or within the past week of hunting.
And it's particularly good to actually enjoy the animals that you've shot.
You know, a lot of the food that goes through the lodge is food that we've harvested. So if we've shot an impala that day, we'd like to try and use that meat. What we hunt is what we use, and we believe that it needs to be done that way.
I've hunted impala before. I've done management hunts, I've done cull hunts, but this was special because it was a management hunt, but it was also a really decent animal. It wasn't, an animal with terrible horns. It was a beautiful animal, and it just so happened that Graham had actually brought in 2 big impala rams with fantastic horns, absolutely massive horns, that were much better than this particular animal, but this animal was actually preventing those 2 from breeding in with those females. So it needed to be taken out, and I was more than happy to do the job. I absolutely love the conservation side of hunting as well.
It was a better part of the morning that we took looking for the impala ram. They're not just one of those animals that you find standing in the open. They are an animal that browses on bush.
It wasn't as straightforward as we thought. You know, I thought it would be a case of going to an area where we thought this impala ram would be, and that we'd find it there fairly early on, but it was a challenging hunt. We really took our time. We went all over this farm. We spotted many impala, but as you know, Graham and I were glassing for the animals, we realized that none of them were the particular ram that we wanted to find. And after a few hours, we had some success. We came up onto this hill. We had an area where it was thick, and then it opened up to a more, you know, open area. And we came out and we saw these impala were grazing, and the one that we were after was there. Right, we've just spotted the animal that we're after. They're relaxed, they're grazing, they don't know we're here. So we're just going to take a walk through this bush and just set up in a position, any position that we can get a clear shot at. It's going to be difficult because it's quite thick up here, but it's open, more open down there. So see if we can get set up and see if we can take a shot at that animal.
The way it was done, you know, the animal had no clue that we were there. And that's the ethics of hunting, is to get up close enough to the animal and make sure that you can put a clean shot in.
We waited for the impala ram to actually move out into a more open area. I took a sitting shot where I was able to, you know, not as steady as a prone shot, but able to take my time and get the crosshairs right on the heart and lung area of that animal. And when I took the shot, it was exactly as I wished.
Watch him for a while. He's finished. Yeah.
With this impala, we've been sitting here waiting for probably about half an hour to 45 minutes, just waiting for them to graze across so we can get a clear shot. And finally, the animal we were after came out into the open. Didn't have a super steady rest here. I was sitting down and resting on a sandbag here, but put the crosshairs just about on his shoulder, so must have got a pretty good heart and lung shot, because you could see the way he jumped and eventually fell down, that it was a good shot. So I'm very, very happy. One shot, one kill, and I could not be happier. Let's go take a look at him. Right, well, that's another beautiful animal down here at Olivewoods. Another happy hunter, and I'm really happy with the way that played out. Again, it was a good shot, and I think that basically comes down to the fact that we had the time to set up and get comfortable, and it wasn't something that we rushed. So I'm really, really happy. Graham did a really fantastic job guiding me in close to this animal today and directing me, you know, which one to go for. It really played out nicely.
No, well done, Matt. I must say,
Thank you.
Beautiful shot. Nice animal. It's one of the older rams that are on the farm here, but we've decided to take him out because we've reintroduced new genetics, and the best way to get that through is to take the older rams out so the new rams can do their job and take the genetics forward. Well done, Matt.
I think that impala is such a classic species. It's one of those animals that if you don't live in South Africa, you still know about it. So it's something that you immediately put onto your list of what you want to hunt before you even come to South Africa. And so it's always a privilege to shoot them, but it's also something that if you come over here yourself and you want to shoot something, I would definitely put on my list. It's one of those animals that everyone knows about, so it's something you've got to get down. Varminting is something that I really enjoy because you're always doing the property a favor.
It's part of conservation to take control and to reduce numbers. It has to happen. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's got to happen. You know.
Within the few days I was at Olivewoods, I had the opportunity to do quite a bit of varminting. You know, sometimes you finish up with a hunt early and you've got some time on your hands, or perhaps you're even just driving and you spot something like a baboon that they constantly want to keep under control. And so on one occasion I was at the lodge right in front. I was enjoying looking over out in the field, and we saw baboon come out into the open, and it was instantly all systems go. He was about 450 meters away, and as I took the shot, I could actually see the bullet enter in the shoulder area of the baboon. I saw him jump up, so I knew it was a good shot, and it's good to get that down.
Right, that was a baboon at 455 meters. Baboons are huge pests in this area. They've been called the ultimate varmint, and so the moment you see them, it's all systems go. A lot of fun to take a shot like that.
There's definitely varminting opportunities, I think, on any farm that you go to in South Africa, being baboon, bush pig, lynx, jackal, and the rest of it. You know, we do have pineapple farmers around with the bush pig create havoc, and within the dairy farms as well. Definitely climb into anything that they can.
We also had an opportunity to go out and take a few shots at some Egyptian geese. The property right next door to Olivewoods, there's Egyptian geese that come and eat all the feed that they put out for the cattle. We came out into the field and I had an opportunity to take Egyptian geese and spurwing geese, which are very sought after game birds in South Africa, and something that a foreigner would also want to tick off their list. So that was fantastic. Well, 260 Remington versus Egyptian goose certainly does the job, and it actually looks like his breast meat might still be intact, which means that we can actually take this goose back and take the breast meat out and actually cook it later, which is great. But that's what we're doing here, some pest control as well, which is fantastic. One of the things Graham is very good at is jackal hunting. He's been doing it for a very long time. He's got a very good setup. When I went out there, it was one of the things I wanted to do. We spent a few hours actually driving around one night, calling the jackals in, and when you see a jackal coming in after you're calling it, it's a real adrenaline rush. It's something that I think is very underrated. A lot of people see it as purely as pest control, but there's definitely an excitement aspect to it, and it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, the jackal are definitely a big problem as far as the antelope species. As soon as they impale a lamb, they run amok and they end up killing a hell of a lot of game. So they've got to be taken to task. We've been doing quite a lot of jackal hunting on our farm. I myself have done quite a lot of calling. There's definitely opportunity if you guys want to come out and hunt and shoot a jackal. To call a predator in is something else, and yeah, the opportunity is there for that to be done.
My absolute favorite animals to hunt are, without a doubt, the spiral horned antelope. And Olivewoods actually has all of these species on their property in very close proximity to the lodge. So if you want to come and do a spiral horned grand slam, it's something you can do. It's something I would recommend doing. It's absolutely fantastic. It is quite a difficult hunt to do, but it's something that is so rewarding. So I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, the spiral horn animals, geez, I think some of the most majestic animals to hunt. With your kudu, your bushbuck, your nyala. Yeah, I think we've got all of them on the property. The weather plays a big role. You know, if it's been dry like it has been in South Africa for the last year or two, it's definitely harder to hunt the spiral horn animals. As soon as you get some rain and the shoots start coming out, the fresh green grass, which they feed on as well, time to time, it makes it a bit easier.
In this case, I had the opportunity to shoot a bushbuck, a nice trophy bushbuck, and I'd seen that there were plenty of bushbuck on this property, and on our first attempt we were actually unsuccessful. We decided that we'd try do a kind of ambush approach where we sat on a hill early in the morning and waited for a bushbuck to come out.
We've come out nice and early, and as the sun comes up and heats up the side of the hill, we're expecting the bushbuck to potentially move up out of the thick bush into the open area. So we're going to be strategic and we're going to just sit and wait, and if anything comes up, then the conditions are really good, so we'll probably take a shot. But let's see how it plays out.
We saw plenty of other animals. We saw waterbuck standing out there. We saw plenty of zebra on the other side. All animals that we could have hunted if we were after them, but we were after that nice bushbuck ram. And unfortunately, he just didn't come out, and that's the way hunting is.
I think the bushbuck, the first attempt when we went out, I think we must have got up to the spot I wanted to be at about 7 o'clock that morning. It was a beautiful morning. I thought we were going to come right here because there was no wind and the rest of it. And within half an hour, I think a bit of wind picked up, and it just turned from good to bad, you know. And that's hunting, you know. You go out in the morning, you think that you're going to come right, and you don't. That's just the way things work out, and that's all just due to weather. A little bit of wind turned all of it. It was a bit dry as well.
We went back to the lodge. We took a few hours just to have some coffee, relax a bit, rest up a bit, and then it was straight back out. Well, it's early afternoon now, and we're still looking for that elusive bushbuck. Conditions have changed a bit. It's still nice and sunny, but the wind is blowing really strongly now. I'm guessing it's 20-mile-an-hour wind, so there's definitely not going to be any longer shots that are going down. We're not going to take risks like that, so we're going to have to get quite close. But we've come up to the top of a mountain now, which is actually really beautiful. You can see some of the big open areas of the farm. You can see the valleys all the way down there. You can see the river winding through. The only thing we haven't seen yet is the bushbuck, but that's just how it is. We're in the thick stuff here. It's not likely for a bushbuck to come right out into the open, so we just got to keep looking.
Some bushbuck droppings here, Matt. You can see that they have been through here. They're up in the top in the thick stuff here at the moment. The zebra have been through here as well. It's a bit dry down the bottom, so they're all at the top here trying to find some food. See what we can do. And there's definitely was evidence of bushbuck. You know, we saw a lot of droppings and spoor and the rest of it. And it's not that they're not there; it's that they're elusive. And that's just how it works. You know, it's a hit and a miss with these spiral horn animals at times. But that's what makes hunting so fun, and that's what it makes it so challenging.
Unfortunately, again, we were unsuccessful, and so we decided to call it there and actually wait for the rain to fall so that we could have some more greenery coming out and wait for them to, you know, come out to the open more. The week after that hunting attempt, we actually had a lot of rain in the Eastern Cape, and it was exactly what we were looking for. Graham phoned me up. He said, "Matt, the bushbuck are going to be out. Let's do this." And I came straight out, and you know, as I drove into the property, I just saw nyala everywhere. I saw kudu. I saw evidence that we were going to be successful. I just knew it.
Matt arrived there. We walked down to a spot. We walked along the ridge, and we sat and we glanced for about 15-20 minutes, and something caught my eye going from bush to bush. And I said to Matt, I'm sure that's a bushbuck. I'm sure it is. And we walked a little bit further down on the Kraan side, and we stood, and we were covered by trees in front of us as well. We had a small gap to look out of. It was actually a beautiful setting.
It's probably about 10 to 15 minutes later where this bushbuck came out perfectly out into the open, looked right towards us, you know, broadside on, and it was all systems go.
Out he came. That was it. It was, and a beautiful ram it was, you know, and it was an absolute stunner of a shot. It must have been about 230, 240 meters away, and he hit him square on the shoulder, and I was watching through the camera, and I could see the way that he jumped. You know, it was a beautiful, ethical shoulder shot, and he ran for about 20 meters and he went down.
Oh, it's fantastic. I've got a bit of nerves. My first bushbuck. It's always, especially these spiral-horned antelope that are more elusive, that you don't see often. When you're lining up on them, it's this very special feeling, and you can't get rid of the buck fever. So, a bit of shaking, but he's down and I'm happy. Let's go find him.
Unfortunately, after celebrating, Matt, myself, thinking, oh, we got everything on camera, it was, we went back to look at the footage and it hadn't gone through to the memory card, and that's just one of those things, you know, it happens. But it was ethical hunting and the animal went down, and yeah, you can see what we've got here. We've got some good genetics.
Well, it's a bittersweet moment. Bittersweet because we checked and we just discovered that the memory card actually froze as soon as we pressed record. So we thought we had it on camera, but unfortunately we weren't able to see the actual shot. But I've still got a big smile on my face because this is my first bushbuck and it's a beautiful ram, and the way it played out was just perfect. I held a bit up, probably the top third of his body here, and the entry is right over there, exactly where I wanted it to be. And from the looks of things, it went straight through the heart, maybe just above the heart. So perfect shot, and he probably only ran about 50 meters. So in that sense of things, I'm very, very happy. I've got my first bushbuck down, and I do have a special place in my heart for the spiral horned antelope. So this one's definitely going to go on my wall. There's something incredibly rewarding about shooting something like a bushbuck, which is elusive. It's not something that you can take for granted, you know, it's a difficult hunt. And I would say that was probably the most rewarding hunt of this trip. It wasn't something that happened in one morning, it was something that took time, and it was something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Really, really special. The highlight of my hunt, the climax of my hunt, was without a doubt the blesbuck hunt. And I know to a lot of people that have hunted blesbuck, it's, you know, it's kind of like the bread and butter animal. It's not the most exciting animal that you get in Africa, but for me this hunt was very, very special. And I think it was due to the fact that I've spent so much of the past year just wanting to hone in my skill as a long-range marksman. I've spent countless hours doing low development, getting my groups tighter and tighter, figuring out my ballistics, practicing at long range, practicing estimating what the wind would do, and on this hunt it just all came together. And we were very lucky the way it played out. We actually had a day that we couldn't really go out and hunt on. The wind was blowing quite a bit, the rain was coming down, but it was the perfect opportunity to actually put a gong up at, I think it was about 800 meters, and just, you know, send a whole lot of lead down range, and that was the exact confidence builder I needed before this long range blesbuck hunt. Well, I just shot a gong there at 790 meters. It's a long way off, and that gong's probably about the same size as the kill zone of a large antelope. So it's a good test to see if you're capable of hitting something, but I'm happy we managed to hit it, and that's what matters.
Matt sat there practicing shooting at the gong and doing all the calculations that's needed to be done, you know, and I see him hit the gong time after time and time after time again. You know, I had 1 or 2 shots at the gong, and 700-800 meters is far. It's a hell of a distance. After seeing the capabilities of the 260 Remington, I thought to myself, you know, we should be able to take an animal at this distance with the accuracy that we've got. I've known Matt for a while, and the shooting that I've seen from him is incredible.
I love that sound. Dong. So we are set up, comfortably hitting that gong over and over again, grouping probably like that at about, you know, almost 900 yards. So that's a dead blesbuck or dead impala or dead kudu any day of the week.
We decided we're going to go out and do a long range hunt, and it was, you know, absolutely fantastic. Right, well, we're losing a bit of light here, and it looks like it might start raining at any moment, but the wind has died down a bit, and that's exactly what we've been looking for all day. And there've been blesbuck grazing along the opposite side of the valley here, quite a long way off, but they've been there kind of throughout the whole day, and we've just been waiting for an opportunity. So as the wind died down, we decided to come back out here to this field, and we're pretty much going to find a spot here and set up on them. So I won't talk much longer, let's get straight to it. when you take a long shot like this, you need to take so many things into account. You know, I was continually taking wind readings, I was continually taking density, altitude, barometric pressure, temperature, and even the Coriolis effect, which is the rotation of the Earth, into account. You've got to think of all these things when you're taking a long-range shot. And so it was not easy, and I had to estimate what the wind was doing on the other side, and I actually determined that although the wind was only showing about maybe up to 10 miles an hour where I was, I knew that it was actually blowing more through the valley. So I had to take that into account, and it is kind of scary when you're lining up on an animal like that and you know that just a few inches one way or another could equate to injury. You don't want to take that risk.
We got to a point where just everything was perfect. The animals had walked into the exact place that we wanted. The wind had dropped off, and I said to Matt, "Come Matt, let's go." And we did, and what an absolutely stunning shot. The animals standing perfectly broadside, and one shot, one buck. Straight down, dude. Dude, straight down.
Still down, eh?
Yeah, I'm watching.
That was something special. We've been out here all day, waiting for an opportunity to get a long shot like that. Obviously, you don't want to take any risks with a long shot like that. It's an animal's life you're dealing with. If you injure an animal, it's a horrible feeling. We've been out here all day and we've turned down a number of opportunities simply because the wind conditions, you know, you can measure the wind here, but the wind down there in the valley can be totally different. It's just starting to get dark now. You know, clouds coming over, it's starting to rain, but the wind has just dropped off. I dialed 1.5 mils wind edge for a 10 mile an hour wind coming from the left here. Dialed 5.9 mils up, and that was a 720 meter shot. You know, held on the shoulder, took the shot, and I just watched. You know, I had time after the recoil to get the scope centered again and just watch that blessed buck drop straight down. So I could not be happier. Gun has done its job. Savage Model 12 in 260 Remington, got a Night Force ATAC R scope on top, and I've had a fantastic time here with Olivewoods and with Graham, who's really been great at actually helping me to spot these animals at these long ranges and getting me on them and being a really good PH and spotter. So it's been absolutely fantastic.
Matt knew where to place it and what the drop was going to do, and the bullet drop and the rest of it. He pretty much knew what was going on because we'd been practicing on the gongs for a day before. And it's not just about coming out to the farm and pulling the trigger at 700 meters. You need to have some form of background about what your rifle's doing.
Well, that is officially the best shot I have ever taken, and the most elation I felt after any hunt. Not just because of the distance, but I think just the amount of time we spent setting up and the amount of time we spent waiting for a perfect opportunity. It's just a really special hunt to me. Obviously, you want to hit the animal here in the vital area. I held a little bit towards the neck side because I would rather get a neck shot than a gut shot, and the bullet actually hit exactly where I aimed, right here in the neck, and this animal just dropped down immediately, which is what you want. So I'm extremely happy. Graham's done a fantastic job as a PH today. Equipment did a fantastic job as well. Savage Model 12, it's proof that with a factory rifle, without a custom barrel or anything, can actually do long range shooting if you put in your time with load development and obviously the fundamentals of shooting. But obviously it helped to have good equipment, and this gun with the GRS stock and the Night Force scope did the job perfectly. So I'm extremely happy.
If anybody would like to hunt in South Africa, you know, we can have a look at the website. We'll put that up on the screen, and the contact details, and it would be a pleasure to host anybody. And you know, it would be not just the fact of hosting people, it would be nice to get to know other people from different sides of the world and speak to different hunters from America, Italy, France, wherever they come from, and hear their side of things, you know. And it's, yeah, we would like to share something special in Africa with all of you.
I would absolutely recommend Olivewoods to anyone who wants to come out to South Africa. Not only is it in the beloved Eastern Cape, which, you know, I grew up in this province. I absolutely love this province, and Olivewoods is, you know, only an hour away from where I live, but it's an hour away from an international airport. So you fly into Port Elizabeth International, you know, Graham will pick you up, he'll take you out there, and he'll take you on a hunt of a lifetime. I absolutely believe that, and I think it's something you've got to experience. So you can contact Graham, you can contact me, I'll get you in touch. I'll be more than happy to answer questions, and it's all up to you now. I think you should do it.